Hello everybody and welcome to this time lapse. We've got this beautiful glowing vase in soft pastel. I'm working on the white pastel matte paper here. No particular reason other than I've got an A3 pad of it, so I'm just using that color. I cover every inch of the paper, so for me personally it doesn't really matter what color I choose. Sometimes what color I choose depends on the actual pasteling experience. I personally like working on white paper. I feel like the colors are brighter as I lay them down instantly. Whereas if I work on darker toned papers, sometimes I find it just takes a lot more work to build up. That's just my personal experience. But again, I work on both. It just depends what I feel like. Okay, so the size of this is a little bit bigger than A4, so it's somewhere in between an A4 and A3. And I took this photograph from a client's house. I just loved the way the light was working through this vase and reflecting back onto a smooth white table. So I was so inspired. As soon as I got home, I started this piece. Now, I was actually going to give up on this. I felt like it was going nowhere. You know, when you hear about artists talking about an ugly stage, to be fair, um, my work hadn't noticeably gone through an ugly stage for as long as it did with this piece. It was ugly and I was just kept going and kept going, and I thought, you know what, this is not going to work. I'm not going to be able to pull it off. This is going nowhere. So I was going to give up, and just as I was on that point of giving up, it started to turn. I started to have hope and vision for the end piece, that actually, you know what, this might work out. It may not be as bad as I thought. So it's been a long time since I've pasteled something where I literally had to just keep going, keep working at it to push through this ugly phase. So I'm building up light, dark, mid-tone constantly, backwards and forwarding, like I said, for literal hours, till I built it up to a place that I was happy with. So you can see all this crackling on the vase, the glass. I always knew from the beginning that I was going to do that as my end layer. So I'm really focusing on just looking at the base of this vase. So the colors, the stripes, the shape of the vase, the shape of the colors that I'm seeing. And so basically I'll put in bright colors like you see me with bright amber, bright turquoise, flatten them out a little bit because I'm wanting to create a smooth texture. And pastels work wonderfully for creating smooth texture because you can massage everything out with your fingers. And then I'll go back in and layer, because once you crush the pigment, it's not as colorful anymore. You need to build up that color. So like I said, lots of building up in this one. This really was a building up, a layering. Like all my work I layer, but this was multiple layers. So this was the stage. No, I don't think I was quite here yet when I thought, you know, this might work. This is still the ugly phase actually. So the cast shadow, here's where I started to see that it could work. As soon as I'd worked my darker values underneath and I started to put the lighter values on top, I thought, actually, you know what, this might work. It was at this point that I was encouraged to carry on going. But the shadow was lots of fun to create, more so than the vase, like I said, because the vase was just, so much layering. But I used a bit of the pastel pencils, to get some detail on the cast shadow there. And this would encourage me to go back to the vase and keep working. I did spray some fixative, some Spectra Fix. Here you can see me spraying. I just wanted to make sure that I could get some more layers on there. Like I said, there was just so many layers. I felt like I needed to use a workable fixative. I don't usually use workable fixatives in my work, but because I was layering so much with this one, I did. So the pastel brands I'm using is a whole mixture from literally Sennelier, Unisons, Mount Vision, Blue Earth, Schminky, just all over. So now that I've got my base in, which took lots of layers, I'm starting now to pinpoint details, starting to really brighten up where you can see the brightest amber glow or the turquoise, or like this beautiful cobalt blue color. This now is where I'm refining, like I said, refining those details. But again, going backwards and forwards with my darks, my midtones, and my lights, and literally repeating that process until the vase comes alive, until I'm happy with the way it looks. So also using pure black in there, especially at the base where the vase is touching the tabletop. That will be the darkest value where two objects meet. So I'm just using pure black for that. But it is mixed in with some of those dark blues I've got there. I've got a beautiful, what's it called? Dark 24 by Unison, as well as Sennelier's 463, which is a beautiful like dark royal blue, and I've used that a lot in here, as well as those beautiful oranges you can see was Cadmium Deep by Sennelier, one of my favorite brands when you want punch of color. I think Sennelier is phenomenal. I really love them. So here I'm using my Brunzil black pastel pencil, and I'm starting to put the crackling in. Now I'm not copying, I never copy my image to the exact. It's always close enough, which is good enough for me. It's as close as I want it to have the same vibe, but it's every crack isn't exactly as I can see in the reference image. I'm trying to follow the pattern closely, but I'm giving myself lenience. Otherwise, if I have to follow everything to the exact centimeter and millimeter, that's just no fun. So Brunzil black pencil, I love that because it's one of the darkest black pencils I've come across. And here you can see me putting in lights, putting in some more very tinted creamy whites. I have used a little bit of white on the brightest highlight that you can see. Otherwise, I'm using a very pale yellow, almost like a very pale custard color. And again, there's bright white that I'm using, Sennelier bright white. And doing finishing touches now. Now I'm wanting these colors to pop. So there's lots of rubbing in with my fingers here. I'm wanting the colors to stay as I lay them in. And finishing off with my pencil, a little bit of details. You can see a bit of a window reflected there. So using some cobalt blue 5% by Caran d'Ache, as well as my white and my black. And a little bit of finishing touches. This beautiful vibrant blue violet you can see is Unison BV12. It's a stunning vibrant color. So I used that. But like I say, layering and layering and layering. And this one really reminded me that you've just got to keep going. Trust the process and keep on the layering, and you'll get to where you want to be at the end. So you can check this out over in real time in my Patreon page. I'll leave a link in the description below. Bye for now.